Welcome, everybody, to episode 372 of the F and Marks podcast. I am Jay, the brainless one, has the week off. Lots of things went on in professional wrestling this week. We're going to try to get straight to it. This show may be pretty short this week, but I want to make sure we get into the Bash in Berlin predictions. I want to talk about the Vince McMahon documentary now officially has a release date on Netflix. There was a domestic issue at Nikki Bella's residence, and we had the passing of Sid Viscous, Sid Justice, Psycho Sid, whatever person, whatever moniker you knew him as. So, Jessica, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. All right. So let's just jump into it. Let's talk about Psycho Sid. Let's talk about his passing. Sid was one of my favorites growing up. I watched both WCW and WWF as a kid, and Sid was always one of my favorites. Like, he was the heel for me. That was like the cool heel. He beat the crap out of you, had a smile on your face, and just as a kid, I was like going, that dude's kind of cool. There was just an air about him in every way, shape, or form. I mean, I loved Gary Michael Capetta saying, "From wherever he damn well pleases, Sid Vicious." But I loved him in Skyscrapers with Dan Spivey. And then he went and became part of the Four Horsemen. He ended up having title matches against Sting. But then WWF called, and he jumped ship. And I remember there was this big hype up when Sid came to WWF. Who is he going to be with? Who is he going to join? And at least for a bit, it sounded like, hey, he was going to be buddy-buddy with Hulk Hogan. And you know, the Royal Rumble that happened in, I think it was 92, where Sid, like, he and Hogan were supposed to be buddies, but Sid actually pulled Hogan out of the ring, helping Ric Flair to win the WWF Championship. He really had a stellar run overall in WWF. He won. He was back and forth with the company a couple times, but won the WWF Championship a couple of times. Main evented WrestleMania 13 with The Undertaker. In WCW, he won the World Heavyweight Championship a couple times there as well. I mean, he bounced around a lot, but I just loved that dude. I loved watching him perform. He may not have been the greatest in the ring, but he did well enough, and he had such a dang presence about him. It was hard to not, like, just be mesmerized by him as a personality. And you know, I think the thing most people will remember him for, unfortunately, was his incredible acting job when Goldberg squashed his car. Oh my God! Goldberg! 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 Ah! So good. So terrible and so good. But Sid is yet another person that just... The thing with the WWE Hall of Fame that makes me angry is that we keep on having people who are very deserving of that accolade dying before they've had a chance to get in. And there are still many more that are alive that deserve that accolade that aren't in. Triple H, do something about it. Do something about it. You got Demolition out there. They're still alive. Put them in. They deserve it. Sid certainly deserved it. Multiple time champion in multiple companies. Main evented WrestleMania. That's more than I can say for Coco Beware. Lex Luger's out there. He deserves to be in. Why isn't he in yet? So many others. So many others. Those are the two off the top of my head that it's just like, come on. Put them in. That is why I haven't watched the Hall of Fame ceremony in so long. Now that Triple H has taken over, and maybe we'll start righting some of those wrongs from the Vince era, maybe, just maybe, some of these people will get their just due before they're 6 feet under. But, cancer sucks. Sid was only 63. It's not young, but it's not old. And apparently he had been battling it for a little while, and it just sucks that it happens this way. Sid had posted, I think it was like a month or so ago, about, wanting to get into the WWE Hall of Fame, and with Vince being out of the way, maybe he would get that opportunity. So, yeah. So, Chris Brown, of the things that Hogan said about Kamala Harris, like, the only thing I saw is that he said he wanted to body slam her, but clearly he was meaning that in like a joking manner. He doesn't really want to body slam her. I highly doubt he could even body slam her these days with how messed up his back, his shoulders, his arms, and his legs are. Either way, I don't think he would get kicked out of the Hall of Fame again for that. But if he said some racial stuff again, yeah, he certainly could get kicked out again. And this time for good. But so, do you all have any memories of Sid? What were things that stood out for you about him? I mean, match-wise, I remember vividly the match he had against Sting at Halloween Havoc. I think it was 1990. Sting had won the world title at the Great American Bash there and beaten Ric Flair, but Sid was one of his first real big tests. And this was like Sid's first time in the spotlight. But the build-up to this was so good. And I have recollections of the end of that match being an absolute shit show. It just didn't go well. I think there was supposed to be like a gimmick referee, and it presented poorly. And I want to say that Barry Windham ended up like coming back. That was him coming back to WCW. But yeah. Yeah, Chris, Sid's career basically ending when he broke his leg in that match. I forget if it was a singles match with him and Scott Steiner or if it was a tag match, but when he jumped off the ropes and his leg just snapped in half, and Scott Steiner, trying to be a pro, starts going and like going to town on the leg because, like, hey, like, if you're trying to make the audience make it seem real, you got to do that. But that was just a horrific looking injury. And it more or less, it didn't stop him from wrestling, but that was the last time he was really, really in the spotlight. And, he when they had the Legends coming back in 2012 to beat up Heath Slater, Sid was one of them. Sid gave him a power bomb, It was great seeing Sid. Sid looked pretty decent for, at that time, a guy who 50, 52 years old. He had a really strong career. WWE doesn't need to do the right thing and put this dude in the Hall of Fame. Other than that, another match I would highly recommend if you're into watching matches that are so bad that you kind of enjoy them. Watch Sid Vicious against El Gigante. It was at one of the Super Brawls. I forget if it might have been Super Brawl 3. It might have been the first Super Brawl. Absolutely dumpster fire of a match. It was supposed to be a stretcher match. It was a stretcher match. I was really looking forward to it because I like watching big dudes beat the hell out of each other. And it was just crap in every way. As much as Sid could kind of sort of go, when you're going against a man who can't go at all, it's really tough. Takes two to tango, and it was just Sid in the ring there. But I'm looking forward to the time when we don't have to consistently start shows with the passing of yet another performer. I mean, I guess the bright side of this is most of the ones we've been talking about lately, at least are not drug related, of people who are, in their 20s, 30s, 40s. But just a bummer. Yeah. Yep. So Doug in the chat talking about the Vince McMahon documentary. Documentary is coming to Netflix August or September 25th. This thing has been long gestating. Bill Simmons has been working for several years on this thing. When the allegations came out about Vince with the Janelle Grant stuff, they shelved this thing. Then they took it off the shelf. Then they put it back on the shelf. Then after the WWE made the deal with Netflix, we hear once again that this documentary is happening. Bill Simmons, who is the person behind the Andre the Giant documentary that was done on HBO a handful of years ago, is the one of the people that's directly involved with this. Allegedly, they got new interview with Vince McMahon. This was before all the allegations came out, but like a fairly recent interview with Vince McMahon talking about the stuff. I loved the graphic with it, where you got Vince McMahon as the puppet master over Mr. McMahon. And it says, Mastermind, Madman. Simple, to the point, and true, and I cannot wait to see this thing. The last things I heard about it, that it might be a 5-part documentary series. There is an awful lot of ground to cover with that dude. The recent stuff alone could take up 5 hours. But you're talking about his life, the stuff he did. I mean, there are certain things Dark Side of the Ring covered. There are certain things that have just not been covered about Vince and what he's done, what he allegedly did. I hope all of this comes to light. I hope they don't try to sugarcoat anything. I think with all the public ire against the man at this point, I don't think they're going to try to sugarcoat this thing. I think they're just going to go balls to the wall, tell the truth about this man who in many ways like enriched our childhoods with professional wrestling in these larger than life characters. but the crappy stuff that he did to make that happen. Yeah, the Snuka cover-up. You've got that. You got the referee from back in the 80s that he just paid I forget how much money it was. It was several $1 million because she claimed back in the 80s that Vince McMahon raped her in the back of a limo. There are several former performers that, have spoken of Vince like doing things. There are allegations out there. I think the fact that we have NDAs against that have come out where people have now spoken out in spite of NDAs, it seems to me like NDAs are modus operandi by Vince and his legal team. It feels like this has been going on for years, and I think there are other people who work for the company that this stuff happened to, and they signed non-disclosure agreements. Probably had their lives ruined. Somebody like Ashley Mazzaro. So I hope they put a full light to this so we could know the full person. So, yeah. So, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Good stuff, Doug. Good stuff. Chris, as far as the NDAs being declared null and void, I think if there's a violation of the agreement, you can say whatever you want, and that's what Janelle Grant has stated, that there was an agreement that she was going to get paid 3 times. I forget how much it was. I think it was $1 million a piece. And after one payment, more or less, they stopped paying her, and she's like, all right, well, leaked out some information to her friend, and her friend leaked out that information to the Wall Street Journal. You get what you get, Sooner or later, it catches up to you. But I'm looking forward to this documentary. How about you out there? Are there specific things that you really want to hear about whether it's some of the rumors out there? Is that there's something for you that you're like, I got to know about this. I got to know about that. What are the things trickling in your mind? Put them in the chat. All right, so you might have noticed that recently Bayley has been on a hiatus. After she lost the women's title at SummerSlam, we have not seen or heard from her. She's not injured, and she has been really integral and worked her tail off to really have some great storylines. She had some really good matches. I mean, the Damage Control storyline, with how long they drew that out, and the payoff was really, really good. She had, a few-month run with the title, and Nia Jax takes it off her at SummerSlam, but she has not been heard from. And she was kind of chiming a little bit about it, about, hey, what the heck's going on? I'm not injured. She was, and this is not her words, this is me, she was like a key player in the women's division since Triple H took the book at SummerSlam, over 2 years ago, with her coming back from injury, starting up Damage Control. Is this them trying to sell the beating or getting beat by Nia Jax at SummerSlam? You just wouldn't put somebody like that who's been so important to the division on the shelf for no reason. Is she nursing an injury? She says she's not. Is this just her way of doing a storyline? I don't know. I think we should see more of Bayley. I want to see Bayley take on Michael Cole at some point, though. That match needs to happen. It was something that I think was going to happen, and then pandemic just ruined it all. And then Bayley's injury, derailed it even more. I need Michael Cole and Bayley. I need it. I think the world needs it. I think it'd be great. I like that. I like that, Chris. I don't know if we'll ever see that, but Vince reacting to TKO and Triple H takeover as he, yeah. Chris Brown, I like Bayley with the Bayley Buddies when she first came up with the like teenager haircut and the wacky wavy inflatable tube people. I enjoyed that Bayley. But she definitely works better as a heel. She did good as a face, after Damage Control turned on her. But yes, works better as a heel. Like Randy Orton, he does okay as a face, but he's a better heel. I'd rather see ass-kicking Randy Orton than soft-serve Randy Orton. Just my opinion, but there was a rumor earlier this week that got quickly negated, but the rumor was that they were actually going to take the Performance Center in Florida and bring it to Las Vegas. When I saw that rumor, something didn't smell right. The Performance Center is not that old. Not that old at all. They spent a good chunk of money there. They've invested in infrastructure there. I'm like, going, that it doesn't sound right. And if you're somebody up and coming in pro wrestling and you need a place to stay where the cost of living is low, Florida is great. You don't need to make quite as much money to get by. Vegas, on the other hand, I think the cost of living is a bit higher. And I think the only stuff that would be I can't even say helpful. One thing that would be different, and maybe for some people would be good, hookers and blow. But not that long after that, WWE came out and released a statement saying, no, the Performance Center is not going to Las Vegas. I believe it was Mark Shapiro from TKO expressed that they would be doing something possibly in Vegas for NXT, for a Performance Center. So it sounds like there may be, whether it's a second offshoot of the Performance Center, so that way not everybody's in one spot, but they are not moving the Performance Center. There may be a second one. Years ago, Triple H's idea was that we were going to have performance centers in every corner of the earth. And there were going to be versions of NXT in every corner of the earth. And I think he eventually wanted to have those NXTs almost have kind of a Super Bowl of NXT where they would have this grand thing where they would all come together at one point, where the champion from Japan would go against the champion from Europe, which would go against the champion from the United States, and so on and so forth. It was a grand plan, and Vince ended up torpedoing it at one point when he decided he didn't like the direction NXT was going, and we ended up with the throw up NXT 2.0 graphic thing. Thankfully, Shawn Michaels and Triple H righted that ship, have made NXT once again a place that you want to not only watch wrestling, but you need to almost make it like must see. It's good wrestling, good storylines. They're getting taught by one of the greatest in-ring performers in the person who understands psychology better than just about anybody, in Shawn Michaels. And you've got somebody like Triple H who wants NXT to succeed. So Jessica, I did not see MJF's promo the other night. I just heard that he said he was no longer a U.S. citizen, and he was just upset about losing the All-American belt back to Will Ospreay. But one thing I'll say for that is, what's up with like these belts? They change them week to week to week to week. Like Tony Khan, man, those aren't cheap. I know if you're a billionaire, maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal, but like, dang, man, are they making that much money off of selling the replicas that like it's not that big of a deal? But yeah. In WWE notes, it was announced that Humberto Carrillo has signed a new 3-year deal with WWE, and they said that that he signed the deal around the same time Angel Garza did. So we are going to see. We're going to see Nicole, the effing wife of the brainless one, her favorite tag team, Los Lotharios, dawning and being on our TV for at least another 3 years. So good for Humberto Carrillo. Skilled in-ring performer. The gimmick with the Los Lotharios, I think they need to work on that. The talent's there. I hope they could give them something they can really sink the teeth into. You know, it can't be something like Maximum Male Models. Yeah. All right. So Monday Night Raw. Well, they're going to have a taping of it after the next Crown Jewel show. Crown Jewel, the next one is going to be in November. They're going to do the Crown Jewel premium live event Saturday night. They're going to tape Raw on Sunday, and then presumably go home the next day. As much as I don't think they should go to Saudi Arabia at all, for the performers, this makes a heck of a lot of sense. You go halfway across the world to do one show, and then you fly back. That just, I would be less than enthusiastic about that. So good on WWE for at least thinking of their performers a little bit more than they used to. And one thing that I did see in the news, just kind of unfortunate, a little bit before I got on the show today, like news coming out about an alleged domestic incident at the home of Nikki Bella. We do know that her husband was arrested, and it was for a felony account, but we don't really have any other details. We don't know if it was Nikki that was involved, somebody else in the home that was involved. That there are no details, and Nikki more or less has said, hey, this is a private matter. I'm not going to talk about it. The couple just passed their 2-year anniversary. They've got a young son. You know, as much as Nikki Bella was not my favorite performer in the ring, having to deal with anything like that is just unconscionable to me. Person you're supposed to have the most trust in doing something like that. Again, we don't know who it was to. We can make guesses, but we don't know who. But apparently for the police to arrest him as they did, there needed to be like either a visible injury on somebody or eyewitness testimony that was so strong that they had to do something. That's just rough. So I hope Nikki's okay. And I hope her family's okay. That just a whole bunch of crap. So on to different things. We do have a premium live event tomorrow. We have the Bash in Berlin, gonna be headlined by Gunther and Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. We got Cody Rhodes going against Kevin Owens. We got CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a strap match. We've got Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest going against Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio. And finally, Women's Tag Team Championship match, Alba Fire and Ilsa Dawn going against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. All right, so Women's Tag Team match for the championships, Alba Fire and Ilsa Dawn. When they took those titles, it seemed like Bianca and Jade should have had a more sustained run. I don't know if they wanted to do this to shock and awe the audience and be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. See, look what we did. We fooled y'all. I didn't think it was a great idea then, and I think they're going to right that wrong. Tomorrow, Bianca and Jade win those titles back. Again, I don't know why the titles were taken off them in the first place. Maybe they wanted to give Jade a little bit more time practicing in the ring to get her to a higher level, so when they put her in these big spots, that she just does better in the ring. So I'm going with Bianca and Jade taking titles back, and I think this time they will have a longer, more dominant run. And maybe, just maybe, in the end, this will end in them breaking up and having a big money match, whether it's next year at WrestleMania or whether it's further down the line, 2 WrestleManias from now, SummerSlam. There are a lot of things they could do. You know, thinking about the storylines that they've been building with all these matches, like, it's sad to say that Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, like, it's like they threw Cody Rhodes on there and threw Kevin Owens in the ring with him, just like, oh, yep, we need to have Cody on this card. We don't really have anybody set up for him to go against. Who do we got? Okay, we got the Brainless One's favorite cupcake eater, Kevin Owens, who on a dime could go in the ring, could talk people a bit into the building, and try to make something out of nothing. The thing is, I think everybody knows that. I think they will go out there and have a fine match, but this is similar to the AJ Styles storyline. There's not a lot of meat in there. They're going to have a fine match. I have no doubt about it. But this one just feels like all the other storylines to me are better. All the other ones are better to me. So, but like this is one of a couple of matches where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a lock. There ain't no way Cody Rhodes is losing to Kevin Owens. Ain't no way. It makes it feel like a throwaway match. They're going to put on a good match, but as far as like, does this mean anything? No, not really. It's just so Cody could get another title defense. I'd love for them to be able to build these up a little bit more. They did fine with Solo and he at SummerSlam, but I mean, I never felt like Solo was like a person that conceivably could have won the title at SummerSlam and gone forward. But Cody's winning this. So, Reese Brown, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. Smash the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'd really love it. The more people that subscribe, it just puts us higher up in the algorithm, get more love, and have more people join in and chat. We love that. So, all right, we come to Rhea and Damian Priest going against Dom Mysterio and Liv Morgan. I think there are a couple of things here that I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. This was one of the matches that I'm like, I don't know. Who are they going to have win this one? Because in part, Damian and Rhea, still staying together as a thing. After this, I feel like they're going to both go off and fly solo. I don't think it's going to be quite like when the Shield broke up and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns were still palling around, as Seth Rollins was doing his thing on the other show. I don't think it's going to be like that. They may still interact a little bit, but Rhea emerged as a superstar at WrestleMania after beating Charlotte Flair and then becoming a dominant champion for the next year. The only thing that stopped her was injury. Rhea is about to fly off on her own. Damian, I think, is about to fly off on his own. what would make the most sense here as far as building people up? Would it make more sense to have Rhea and Damian get the revenge on the people who cheated them right now, right here? Or would it make sense for this newly realized group to continue to weasel their way into victories? I really, really don't know. But I do have to make a pick. I think with the amount of times that we've seen Dom and Liv one-up them, I think I'm going to go with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. There is nothing wrong with losing to that duo, whether you're Liv Morgan or Dom Mysterio. Losing to the person who is just a heavyweight champion, that elevates you. Losing to Rhea Ripley, who is the top woman in WWE right now, that elevates Liv. And if Liv continues to be in a program with Rhea, that's nothing but good for Liv Morgan. So I am gonna go with Rhea. Gonna go with Damian. But I guess we'll see. We'll see. All right, then we have the strap match. Earlier in the year, I really thought that I was going to go with Roman and Cody for Rivalry of the Year. When you're talking about a match and a storyline that had built up for over a year, and completing that end of the storyline in spectacular fashion, I was like, yeah. With CM Punk out with injury from Royal Rumble to SummerSlam, this is like the hottest storyline that we've had. They kept that thing going the whole time Punk was injured. Whether it was tweets, whether it was Punk being on commentary, they kept it going, and it was beautiful. I mean, I love the time when the crowd's like chanting CM Punk, Drew McIntyre throws on Cult of Personality, and he's rocking out with them. The picture with Jack Perry that he did, the shirt that Drew McIntyre came up with, where it was like Drew standing next to a grave, and it's like CM Punk's WrestleMania main event hopes. Beautiful. And the barbs that Punk has come back with on Drew. Well, whether it was like, oh yeah, who called you the chosen one? Who called you the chosen one? Or just talking about how, oh yeah, he just dumbs himself out of the title. He dumbs himself into these situations, in the fact that Punk did that to himself at SummerSlam, where he dumbed himself into a loss by getting so riled up about that bracelet that he lost sight of the fact that he had to go and take out McIntyre. But here we have a strap match. I enjoy strap matches. I mean, I don't know if Dusty Rhodes was the one who invented it, but he definitely helped make them famous. But the idea of the strap match is you incapacitate your opponent so much that you get to slap the 4 different corners of the ring. That was what strap match used to be. I'm guessing WWE style, you might get an actual pinning combination of some kind that they'll allow you to do. I hope they do the old school, hit the 4 corners. I hope they do that. Either way, awesome storyline, awesome build-up that they've done. I love the fact that almost all these things that we've got for tomorrow's show, they have shown these people beating the holy heck out of each other before the show even happens. Because guess what? The show is called Bash in Berlin. So these people need to detest each other and want to have at each other's throats. They have allowed them to do that, whether it was Randy and Gunther, whether it's been Punk and Drew, whether it was Rhea and Dom and Liv and Damian. We have had an awful lot of people just killing each other before this show. It has helped, for me, fuel a whole bunch of excitement. But I definitely, after SummerSlam, Drew McIntyre winning, CM Punk is winning this thing. They're going to have that third final match, I believe, at Bad Blood, and it's going to be Hell in a Cell. Then we could get a definitive, like, yes, you won. But CM Punk needs to win this, and I want to see, again, smacking the four corners. I don't want to see a pinfall. I like that. I like that old school bit. All right, and the main event of the evening, we've got Gunther versus Randy Orton. All right, Chris Brown, you're saying you're going with Drew McIntyre. All right, just to piss off Punk even more. You could be right. You know, they went with Rollins losing 3 times in a row to Cody Rhodes, and it didn't hurt Rollins in the least bit. Wouldn't hurt CM Punk in the least bit if he lost to Drew McIntyre again. I don't think it's going to happen that way, but all right. So Gunther versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton cut a pretty impassioned promo on Raw talking about, hey, yeah, I had a big head. I need to be humbled. I've learned from those things. Yeah, you've talked about my demons. But the thing is, I've beaten those demons. Those demons are bigger than you. So if I could beat those demons, I could beat you any day of the week, and I'm going to beat you with the RKO. Really good stuff. You know, we had he and Gunther beating themselves up last week. So it was good not to have it, I guess, this week. But, yeah. All that being said, again, this is a match that I could say a lock that Gunther is not going to leave without the championship. May he win by countout or DQ, or Orton might win by countout or DQ, but Gunther is leaving with the championship. No doubt about it. So I'm just going to say that I think Gunther wins this, and I think it's some sort of screwy finish. I hope the heck it's not too screwy of a finish, because we keep on having effed finishes in championship matches. Let's just have one of them be like at least mostly clean. Mostly clean. Yeah. So anyway, that's about all I got for this evening. Again, no brainless one, and I just wanted to make sure we talked about Bash at Berlin. Wanted to talk about some of the other news that happened during the week, but yeah. Yeah, anyway. All right, Jessica asking, when do we see Tiffy cashing in on Nia? Uh, Tiffy doesn't necessarily have to cash in on Nia. She can, but clearly Nia would have to be in rough shape. Trying to think of who you would have out there right now that could put her in rough shape. It's certainly possible that Tiffy there could take the case and like bash Nia a few times and then try to get a referee out there and win the title that way. I don't know. I think she may have that briefcase for a little bit. As far as tonight goes, Chris Brown, I don't know. I know that there have been talks of somebody returning to WWE. And I believe tonight's show is pre-taped because they're over there in Europe already. So we'll all find out shortly, I guess. So I guess it is time for the good, the bad, and the brainless. So this week for me, my good was Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. I love matches like that. Again, I love watching two big behemoths just beating the holy heck out of each other. Like, it looks and feels real. The fact that they went outside my old stomping grounds in Providence into the parking lot and Bronson Reed does the typhoon splash, where literally like there was a splash of his hair just like going all over the place. That thing was awesome. I loved that. Absolutely loved it. All right. My bad for this week. I don't know. Like looking at all the like things that happen, I'm like, is anything really that bad? I guess I'll go with Sid Vicious passing away. You just never know when people are gonna go. And it's a bummer that Sid died before he had his chance to get into the Hall of Fame. That's unfortunate. And I'll blame it on the former chairman of the board. But that should have been done many, many years ago. Many years ago. Chris Brown, I guess what? Everything in pro wrestling basically is staged. I don't care if the jump into the car was staged. It's still two men jumping onto a damn car. I'm sure they were trying to make it as safe as possible. I loved seeing it, and I loved seeing like the hood smash in. It was great. I loved it. Screw the rest of them. I liked it. And my brainless for the week is going to go to Nikki Bella's husband. Bro, get your stuff straight. For the love of God, for the love of your family, for the love of your child and wife, get your crap straight. And if you can't, get the hell away from them. So, all right. So that's the good, bad, and brainless. We got the predictions in. We hit on absolutely everything. There is absolutely nothing left to cover. Absolutely nothing left to cover. Except this man, Curtis Axel. And did you know that on today, August 30th of 2024 at an astonishing 3,505 days. Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Bow, 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 bow. Yeah. All right. So for episode 372 of everyone's favorite pro wrestling podcast, I'm Jay. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on X, and follow us on the Facebooks. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we're live on those platforms, you'll be notified that we are live so you could come and talk about our favorite sport we all love to hate, professional wrestling. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. Enjoy Bash in Berlin, enjoy SmackDown, and we will see you then. Yeah!